When it comes to like splits and stuff like that, I really don't even care what it is because I have that mentality to where they've done so much for me. I don't care what the split is. And if I just want more money, I'll just go out and take more listings or just find more buyers. And so that's really how I look at it. The people that really focus on the splits and talk about, oh, I want 10% more, those people really don't do that many deals because you really have to get something in return. And what Chris and Yolanda have taught me in return is worth so much more than maybe a 10% pay raise.
Hi, I'm Noel with today's Brew, where top producing real estate agents share their tips and tricks on taking more listings, making more money, and having fun doing it. On today's episode, we welcome Andrew Shaghoury from Houston, Texas. Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Noel. How about yourself?
I am fabulous. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I want to give the audience a little bit of a backstory on you. You are newer to the business or newer as a licensed agent. You were more on the recruiting side before.
Yes, ma'am.
But you have come highly recommended to come onto the show and let people know that if you stay focused and you listen to your coach and you're coachable, what can actually happen. So let's just jump right in and learn first a little bit about yourself, just a little bit of your background.
My name's Andrew Shaghoury. I'm from Houston, Texas, born and raised. I love Formula One, and I love real estate. I love talking to people, connecting with people, and I really feel it's one of those things where I love what I do, and I could genuinely say that. Really, pretty much about me is I just work and watch Formula One and spend time with my dogs. Pretty much it. Just really those three things. So there's not really too much to go into on that.
All right. Well, then, okay, let's jump into this. So you're part of the pro agent team with Chris Hardy Jr.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were actually on the recruiting side. And tell me why you decided to scratch all that and get into actually selling residential real estate.
Yeah, so I actually was the recruiter. I still am the head recruiter. I do some recruiting, but I solely did recruiting 100% of my time for about 2 years. I recruited probably about 100 people to the company. Obviously, we don't have 100 people now, but there's some people that stay, some people that go. Really why I jumped into real estate was I was at a point to where, Chris and Yolanda and Cooley and Michelle give such great coaching. And I really just didn't see some of the agents taking advantage of it. And as a recruiter, I get paid based on performances of other people. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I was really just thinking to myself, I was talking with Chris and Yolanda, and it's like, I feel like I could just go out there and do what you're saying and outperform some of these people. Yeah. And they're like, okay, well, why don't you go ahead and start doing it then? Do half of recruiting, half of real estate. So that's what I did. I like for the first couple of weeks, I was prospecting, it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday recruiting, Tuesdays and Thursdays real estate.
Okay.
That's how it started. And it started back in May. It was like the last week of May. And that first week I was prospecting, I went and took a listing.
Wow. And you were only prospecting Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, only Tuesdays and Thursdays. And when I say like it was a new agent type of thing, I've been around, the business and listened to Chris and Yolanda for, 2 years at this point. Right. Mm-hmm. So it was really just implementing what I was hearing every single day. And so that week I took a listing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that was awesome. I think I could do that over again. And then, so, we had some things happen and I just went full into real estate after that. So then June, July, August, I've probably taken, I did the numbers the other day. It was like 17 listings.
In 90 days.
In 90 days. And I put 4 buyers under contract, a 5th one coming up. So probably about 21, 22 deals in a quarter of the year.
And that's so impressive.
Thank you. I want to do so much more, but it's a good start.
I think you're going to do so much more. I think that Chris and Yolanda have no doubt that you're going to do so much more. And here's just like a funny question. So do you get extra money since
I recruited myself. I recruited myself, I tell them. So I need a little bit extra.
I know. Is your cut a little bigger since you recruited yourself, you get paid on yourself too? No.
It's just one of those things where Chris and Yolanda have done so much for me in the last few years. An interesting fact about me is, 2 years ago, because I've been with the company for almost 4 years now. My first year was actually really rough. I actually was sleeping in the office for about a year, and nobody knew about it. Actually, just Chris and Yolanda knew about it, and so it was like, I didn't have. I had a friend that I could stay with in Sugarland, which was really far from our office at the time. It's probably about 45 minutes. I didn't have the gas to get there, every day to come back and forth. So what I would do is I'd go there on the weekends and I would pack, 5 different outfits for the week. And then I would come stay at the office all week. And then I would go to the Y that was down the street from the office to shower and change every day in the morning and then come back and just work all day. And so, when it comes to like splits and stuff like that, I really don't even care what it is, because I have that mentality to where, they've done so much for me. I don't care what the split is. And if I just want more money, I'll just go out and take more listings or just find more buyers. Right. And so that's really how I look at it. The people that really focus on the splits and talk about, I want 10% more. Those people really don't do that many deals because you really have to get something in return, right? And what Chris and Yolanda have taught me in return is worth so much more than maybe a 10% pay raise. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But that doesn't even, and I've always thought to myself, because I'm an agent as well, I'm like, well, splits don't matter really if you're doing business. If you're doing business, the only time it matters is if you're not capping.
Yeah, exactly right.
The only time it matters. So it is
Exactly.
funny when I listen to reasons why agents leave one brokerage to go to another and they'll say it's money. And I'm like, but it's not.
Well, we're in a business where, when we're in a business where you're 100% in control of how much money you make. So if you leave a brokerage because of money, it's really your fault. It's really your fault.
Exactly. And you know what, though? I also can understand like the other side of it. Like, okay, maybe you've become stagnant and complacent and you thrive off of a new environment.
100%.
Some people, that's what I think, and that's okay. I've done it too. I was like, I don't really like it here. And I'm going to switch because I feel like I've become complacent, even with a coach. And I still was like, no, I need a change. And then, but I think that's just a personality trait too.
Exactly.
But it really ultimately boils down to your dedication and showing up for yourself every day and being coachable. So let's kind of talk a little bit about that. I'm a little bit familiar with the daily routine at Pro Agent after interviewing some amazing people here. But I want to talk about yours because yours is extra special because listen to what you've accomplished in 90 days. What is your routine for prospecting?
So every day I wake up probably around, and I'm actually kind of like bad at this. I need to get better at this. So every day I try to wake up at I need to wake up earlier, but it's usually at 6:30. I work from home, so I just kind of like, I just throw something on and I get ready for prospecting. We have a role play that we do with some of the agents from 7 to 7:30. And then we have the breakfast club that kind of gets us really warmed up for the day with Chad Cooley. And from 8 to 11, I'm prospecting. I've had a challenge before prospecting from 8 to 11 because I'd let other things distract me. But this is where the coaching and training comes in because I have a coach with Chris and Yolanda who, it's one of those things where like if your doctor is performing surgery on somebody, on a certain day, or let's say your doctor does surgeries, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and does his consultations Tuesdays and Thursdays, is he going to interrupt his schedule just to meet with you? He's not. Right. And so you really have to be so serious about your prospecting time because that's where the lifeline of your business is, your lead generation. Because without lead generation, you really have nothing. I don't know how many deals people have coming to them every month, but the deals that I've probably out of the 22 deals that I have working right now, one of them has came to me. Right. All the other ones I had to go out and find. Right. And so, if you look at it that way, you have to go out and hunt. You have to go out and find people. And so, you have to really have that prospecting time locked in, no distractions whatsoever. And I know Chris told me one time where it's like any problems that happen in real estate could really be solved after 11. They don't need you right now. Nobody's life is on the line. And so, that's really the prospecting schedule from 8 to 11. If I don't have appointments in the afternoon, I usually do maybe a 4 to a 5:30 or a 5 to a 6:30 or 5 to a 6, maybe get a couple more contacts in. I really don't like to end the day without an appointment. And either an appointment or 30 contacts a day, one or the other. So,
okay. How often are you scheduling appointments? Are you getting an appointment a day?
I'm setting an appointment a day. Now, am I going on an appointment a day? I'm not. And the reason why is because whenever we set the appointment, we pre-qualify them. There's sometimes where I'll set an appointment and then I'll do the numbers and it really just doesn't make sense for me to go on this appointment. And there's some listings I'll go on. There's been, I think, out of the 22 that I've taken, I've probably gone on 27 of them. I know for a fact I have not gotten 5 of them.
That's your conversion rate 90 days in.
Well, I make sure before I go out there, I'm going to take it. And I'm one of those people where if I'm at somebody's house, I'm not going to leave the appointment without emptying my whole tool belt. Whenever I first started going on appointments, or I've seen agents go on appointments, it's like, oh, I could have said this. Oh, I should have said that. I don't have those things. I don't ever think that, because if I leave an appointment without getting the contract signed, it's because they told me to leave. Right. I'll sit there and go, I'll sit there for 2-3 hours until I get a contract signed. And most of the time they do it within the first, hour or so.
I was going to say, how often does 2 to 3 hours are? They're definitely kicking you out at that point.
Oh yeah. It's very rare. But I remember Mike Ferry, when we had went to a Mike Ferry retreat, he had said something that really resonated. He said, don't settle for a no when you know a yes is still available.
Yes.
The fact that I'm sitting here with you shows that you have a motivation to sell the property. Now, at some point, there's something that is missing, because every time I set an appointment on the phone, I ask this one question. If everything were to make sense and you felt 100% comfortable and confident that I could get your listing sold and get you to wherever you need to be, will there be any hesitation at that point? Would you not? Will you sign a contract with me?
Absolutely, Andrew. I'm signing today.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, they usually don't say that. They usually say, well, I don't want to commit to anything now, but if everything makes sense, I don't see why I wouldn't sign the contract. That's all I need. Fair enough. And so when I'm there and they say, oh, I want to think about it, something's telling me, okay, well, when I asked you this question, you said if everything made sense. What from the information that I'm showing you doesn't make sense? Is it the sales price? Is it the commission that I'm getting? Or is it the timeline that I'm giving you? Right? It's got to be one of those 3 things. Or it might be something else, right, that I need to handle. But it's one of those things to where I'm just not leaving until I know for a fact that there's really nothing else that I can do.
What kind of objections are you hearing right now going out onto these appointments, and how are you pushing past them?
There's when it comes to objections, Greg Harrelson really says something where he's like, when you get good at handling objections, you don't get them. For the last month, I've probably not taken one listing, and I still have a chance to get that guy.
Okay.
He's a professor, so he's very analytical. So he has to he has to think things over. And so usually when I leave the appointment, they usually call me back and say, you're right. I want to sign with you. That's the only reason I've left more appointments than the 5, but they've called me back to sign with me. So I count those as listings taken.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the thing is the objections that I get is, most of the time is they want to think about it. Right. And with that objection, it's I go to the first question, what's not making sense, and then they'll hit with, I don't like making decisions on the spot. I really want to sleep on it and think about it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
How I handle that is I create a scenario. I go, Noel, I could appreciate that you want to think about it. Let me ask you a question. Let me paint a scenario for you. Let's say I'm hosting an open house and a family walks into the house. The wife loves the house. She loves the floor plan. She loves the master bedroom. The kids are upstairs or they're picking out their bedrooms already. And the husband's just sitting there like, yeah, honey, I like this house too, but let's go look at some other houses and make sure, you know? And so me as your real estate agent, me representing you, would you want me to get them to commit and put an offer in and see if we can get a deal done? Or would you let me side with the husband and let him think about it and maybe go fall in love with something else? Usually,
Brilliant.
usually 99% of the time they go, well, obviously I'd want you to get them to write an offer then. It's like, exactly right. So if you expect me to do that for you, how could you expect me to do that for you if I can't show you that I could do that right now? Can you sign the contract, please? And then usually they'll sign it.
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. So you just take total control.
Oh yeah, it's and you know, I'm really straightforward. I really don't like to beat around the bush or anything because Chris told me this one time too. There's just some clients that just aren't worth having, right? You could get right. I'm sure like you could sell their house, but dealing with a client, we have agents that are in our office that are dealing with clients that are taking so much of their time just because they're like unrealistic and they're going to get a paycheck from getting their home sold. But the amount of time that you spend with those people is so much more than it needs to be. How many deals are you missing out on from dealing with somebody 4 or 5 hours out of the day? And so I really think about that when I'm on the appointment because it's not just them interviewing me. It's me interviewing them as well, because when I'm asking questions based how they answer it, you know, when I go to appointment, I tell them at the end of my presentation tonight, Noel, one of 3 things are going to happen. Number 1 is we'll have the opportunity to work together, which I really do hope happens.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is you'll decide not to work with me. Or the third option is I'll decide not to take your listing. And at the end of the day, Noel, any one of these options is perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually say, well, why wouldn't you take my listing? Well, if it comes to a fact of price, if I don't think you're going to get the price that you want, or, you know, if there's things that we disagree on, I wouldn't even want to waste your time and waste my time at the end of the day dealing with something like this, you know? I say it a little bit. I let them down a little bit more easier, or I let them down easier than that. But that's really the gist of what I'm saying.
The gist of it, yeah. And you're so fortunate that you were in the business for a couple years and hearing these conversations all the time. I mean, I can remember just getting in and thinking the first year and dealing with some listings, and like you said, it's a waste of time. And now,
for sure,
you're interviewing that prospective client as much as they're interviewing you.
Exactly right.
And I won't waste that time anymore, because I always tell people nowadays, I'm like, people tell you exactly who they are and exactly what they want if you just be quiet and listen. And and if people are unreasonable on price, especially price or home repairs, I'm not going to do anything like that. I mean, I can remember having like 3 amazing offers come in, and it was one after the other they got rid of, and I'm like, what are we doing here?
Funny enough, you mentioned this because I had an appointment yesterday with a lady and her mother. They're so, and I hate to say it like this, but they're older, and it's a challenge for them to go upstairs. You know, one lady's in a wheelchair; she can't even go upstairs in her own house, and the other one's just so old where she probably goes upstairs maybe once every couple months.
Yeah,
and I'm going over the comparables with her. There's a house that's just like hers, fully remodeled, brand new everything, that sold for $340. And her house hasn't been touched since 2001 when she had it. Yeah. Now she wants $340. And I'm like, you know, there's just no way, because somebody's going to have to, you know, I asked her, I said, you know, to make your home look like this, how much do you have to spend? She was like, probably around 60, 70,000. And I was saying, you know, I think that's probably on the lighter side. Actually, if you could get 60, 70,000 to remodel this home, I'd say you should take it right away. But her whole marketing plan was like, yeah, the house has good bones. I know what we want. We need this amount. And we could just take advantage of some sucker.
Right away, you don't even red flag.
Yeah, red flag right there. And so it's like, yeah, but even if we do take advantage of some sucker, let's say an appraisal comes out, you know, a bank's not gonna loan the person money,
but more so on your end. I mean, that's not ethical. And you can't do that. You can't do that.
Exactly right. And so it's like, you know, even the bank's not going to let them do that.
No.
And then it's like, let's say somebody has $350,000 laying around. You know, do we really think that somebody that has $350,000 just laying around
pick the house that's not great?
Exactly. And so and that's one of the times where it's like, I left that appointment glad that I didn't take the listing. You know, it was one of those things where I told her that, the highest I'd probably go is 320. And the only reason I'm saying that is because there's so much that's going on in the area. But the thing I explained it to her that if I do take this listing and I'm doing everything I can to get it sold, I have a whole action plan of everything I'm going to do. And you know that no realtor, or not, I don't want to say no realtor, but most realtors aren't doing these things that I'm doing.
No.
Are you going to be prepared for that conversation of having a price drop? Because as a real estate agent, you can't be afraid of having those conversations of dropping the price. And so, she agreed to it, but, she said she wanted to think about it. I could have pushed more, but I just wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible because it's one of those things that, like,
it would have been a nightmare.
It would have been a nightmare, and I'd have spent most of my time dealing with her when I could be getting somebody else who actually needs my help and is in reality.
That's when your phone would be blowing up before 11 a.m.
Oh my goodness, exactly.
So that's when Chris would be incorrect, and you would have 911 situations
at
my gosh. 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., and then at 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. because I've had those before. I've had a woman who I never should have worked with, and
I've had plenty of those too. You're not the only one.
Yeah, months afterwards, I was like, okay, when we're not doing that ever again. So you're definitely pre-qualifying. You're definitely doing everything. Just your scripts and your knowledge of them within 30 days or 90 days is kind of insane. It's really impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I've been working on them with agents before that too. Whenever I recruit them, these are the scripts. I role play with them, and so it's like, when I'm role playing with them and I see their conversion rates, it's like, how are you not setting the appointment? Like, what are you? And I listen to them, and it's like, you just can't. What the biggest issue with agents is they want to be like their client's friend, or they don't want to be the bearer of bad news, right?
Yeah.
And Chris and Yolanda say this all the time. It's not your fault that the market is the way it is now. And it's not because of you that when the market's great, the home sells in 2 minutes. You're just a translator of the market. And so if you could show them the knowledge that you have and you could have those tough conversations, they'll actually respect you even more.
Communication. I have no problem with that.
Me neither.
I'm an over communicator, but that's because we value our time.
Yeah, exactly.
And the whole setting the price, for me, I always just tell people, well, you can go in that high and then we're going to have to reduce it later, or we could go in where we're supposed to be.
Exactly. You know what I tell people about the list price? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah. And broaden the market and have multiple offers.
Exactly right. That's what I tell clients as well. I tell them list price does not equal sales price. List price is actually the best way to market your property. We could talk about, shooting social media videos, hosting open houses. But when you look at a home, what's the first thing you look at?
Price.
The price. Exactly right. And
price and pictures.
Yeah, the 2 P's, price and pictures. And if the price doesn't match the pictures of the home, it doesn't make sense. There's no reason for people to come to your open house. And so, list price is actually the best way to market your property.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's give agents, since you're a recruiter and you're talking to them all the time, I know you can answer this question very easily. If there is an agent that is just not performing well and they're on the verge of just throwing in the towel, what advice would you give them? How can they change their business right now?
Right now, you have to find a coach. You have to find somebody who has done what you want to do. Right. And so, a lot of times I've seen agents come from other companies where the coach that they had, if I look them up, they've probably done 3, 4, 5 deals, total in their whole real estate career. And so what really happens is I was lucky to find Hardy and Company Real Estate, which was the company before Pro Agent, which Chris and Yolanda had as an independent brokerage. When I met with Chris, it was just one of those things where he was in the position that I wanted to be in whenever I first got into real estate. He's had years where he's sold over 100 homes. Him and Yolanda as a team, they've done over 1,000 transactions. And to be directly coached by somebody like that was very critical to my success. I couldn't have done it without a coach like that, or him and Yolanda specifically. But I know not everybody's lucky enough to find somebody like that. What I would do is find somebody like that, and even if you have to give up a bigger percentage of your commission, when I first started, I was on a 60-40 split, 60% my way, 40% their way, which actually is pretty good compared to some other companies. but the knowledge that I gained from that is so much more than that extra 20% that I'd be giving them if somebody was on an 80-20 somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to have two agents, one was at a company with 80-20, and maybe someone could help them out from time to time. Or I gave somebody, another agent, that same person, a company that's on a 60-40, but their coach has done over 100 deals a year, him and his wife, and they're going to be every step of the way a part of your business. Which person could have more success at the end of the 5 years or at the end of their 2-year renewal? Actually,
Yeah.
it's going to be the person that, you have to invest in time. And it's kind of like Shark Tank. I watch Shark Tank a lot. I love that show.
Mhm.
And, you see these entrepreneurs, they go on the show and they're like, I'm seeking $500,000 for 2.5% of my company. And they say this all the time. There's not much skin in the game. How am I going to dedicate my
Yeah.
time for only 2.5% of the company? It makes no sense to me. I could go do something else and make a lot more money. You
Mhm.
have to give somebody the equity so they can they can show you how to do it and put the skin
Yeah.
in the game for you. And then those lessons last a lifetime. And
Mhm.
so I think the biggest thing for real estate agents, especially if you're new or you're struggling in the business, is to find somebody who's doing the amount of business that you want to do, or find a coach who's done the business that you want to do. Hire them as quickly as possible, even if you don't have the money to do it, because it is going to cost some money or it is going to cost some split. Figure out a way to do it, and just have that drive and tenacity that, you know, we're in a business where we have 10% of the agents doing 90% of the business. And so you really want to find out how it is that those 10% of agents are doing it. And that's where, the coach and the company really come in. So I think that's the biggest aspect of, if you're an agent that's struggling or a new agent getting into the business, you really got to find somebody who's going to be there with you and has done the amount of business that you've done.
And that you're going to listen to.
Yes. The second part to that is you have to listen to them,
Yeah,
which
we
at the
do have
beginning I
to.
didn't do the best job at. Chris
I
even
don't
told.
believe any of that right there. I think that I don't believe it at all. I think you're a full-on driver and maybe some expressive, and you have just
Oh,
taken
thank
it
you.
and ran with it. Like,
Oh, Chris is
hats
Chris
off
is
to you.
oh, Chris is throwing up right now if he hears that you're calling me a driver. Chris thinks I'm an expressive.
I think you're both. I
Yes.
think you're both. There's no
Thank you.
way. There's no way that you don't have driver in you. There's absolutely no way. You wouldn't have said. You would never have walked into that room and said, "They're not doing what I'm telling them to do, so I can do it, and I'm going to do
Yeah,
it." And you've
exactly.
done it in 90 days. So 100%. There's expressive, but there's 100% driver. I'm amiable all the way, but everyone argues that I'm a driver, and I'm like, I'm an amiable.
Everybody has their two personality styles, and it's your personality style changes when you're under pressure.
Yeah,
Just talking to you, I could definitely see some amiable, but I think if somebody were to put you under the fire, I think that the driver will come
for
out for
sure,
sure.
for sure, for sure.
100%.
It's there. also known as alpha female. Tell everybody how we can send you business, whatever phone numbers and social media and emails you're willing to give out.
Yeah. So if you look under my name right now, I actually put Pro Agent Andrew. That's my Instagram handle. And if you look up my name, that's on my Facebook. People can DM me. People can shoot me a text. My phone number is, I think we can edit this in, is 713-448-0428. Call me anytime. I barely sleep. And if I am sleeping and I hear my phone ring, I wake up and I answer it, which is why my wife gets upset with
Aw,
me.
how nice
Uh,
of you. That's the
oh yeah.
exact opposite of me. Mine's on silent, and I tell all my clients, you can text me anytime you want, but I will reply at like 6 a.m. if you text
Yeah.
me
If I
after.
don't answer, it's because I'm doing something, and that something
Yeah.
is probably sleeping.
I'm
But
like,
I will call you back first thing in the morning.
yes, and I do say that. I'm like, it's on silent but if I don't respond, it's because I'm in bed. But I'll see it at 6 a.m. and I
Yeah,
will respond.
exactly. 100%.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
No, thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure. It was an honor. I'm really
I
I'm
want to
really
do it
glad that we.
again. I want to
Oh,
do
me
it again
too.
because I want to know where you're at in like another 90 days.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm so ready.
Date.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do it. It's
Thank
a date.
you.
Thank you so much, Noel.
Bye.